Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Michelle here. I have a tutorial today on how I edit my images. I'm going to walk you through step by step how I edit an image from start to finish. If you are unfamiliar with me or my work, I'm going to throw some images up here on the screen so you can see my editing style and see if you want to stick around for that. So we're just going to jump right in because I'm going to try to get through this fairly quickly. First thing that I do is I import my images into Lightroom first. I like to do all my lighting and color correction in Lightroom so I can batch edit images if I need to, and then I do my finer retouching in Photoshop. That's just a personal workflow for me. It's not right or wrong for anybody else if you do it differently. You'll find if you've been doing photography for a while, there is a million ways to do the same thing. So I'm just sharing you how I do mine, how I edit my images. Okay, so I have a beautiful high school senior here, and I have her imported, and so this is straight out of a camera image. I shoot in RAW. That's also important to note. Definitely start shooting your images in RAW if your camera obviously has the capability, because you get more information. If I zoom in on my image, I mean, I can see so much detail because it's not being compressed like a JPEG image. So shoot in RAW if you can. And then the first thing I always do is first crop if I need to. I'll probably straighten this out a little bit. That looks good. And then I always warm up my images, adjust my tones. So this is pretty cool for my taste, so I'll probably bump her up quite a bit. This is shot at the very beginning of golden hour, so pretty early. That looks pretty good. Exposure's pretty good. I might bump it up a tiny bit. And I always do this next step. So I always reduce my highlights because I don't like anything overexposed. That's just a personal preference on her body, I should say. If it's in the background, it doesn't bother me as much. And then I bring up the shadows just a little bit because females just tend to be more flattering when they don't have crazy shadows. I might bring the blacks down just a touch, and then you'll find that my personal style, I don't go crazy with any sliders. Like, mine are very minor adjustments. I don't want anything looking cray-cray. That's just my personal style. I don't go too much. Okay, presence. I don't usually do a ton here. If I'm working with a sun flare image, this dehaze tool is really nice. Again, I'll show you what it looks like. Don't go too crazy with it, but it kind of just brings in some richness back into the photo, so I might do it a little bit here. And then usually, okay, I'm just going to be honest. So the next step that I do is I apply a preset. So I have made my own presets, and if you're not familiar with presets, they're basically like copying and pasting a setting. If you guys want a tutorial on how to create your own, I'm happy to do that. Just leave me a comment below. But I have a couple here, and I'll use my golden one. That's my favorite for portraiture. And then I have a cool one here and a film-like. And if you guys like the way these look, I'm actually gifting you these for free. You can get them in the description box below. There's a link. And let me again say these are for desktop Lightroom only. They are not for mobile, so desktop only. But these are my three go-tos. So golden is usually my favorite for portraiture. Cool can look really cool for urban images. And film-like is really, it has a little bit more greens in it, so I like it for like wedding images and product images and stuff like that. So if you like the way these look, go ahead and grab them for free down in the description box below. But anyway, I'll show you how I use them. So this is golden. And what this is actually doing mainly is, let's see, is over here. It's color grading the image, so I'm affecting the shadows and the highlights. Midtones I'm not. You can see that it's 0, 0. And then the shadows and highlights are where I'm putting a little bit of color in it. But just to keep this tutorial simple, I'm just showing you with my preset already loaded. So okay, so let's go back. So my preset's applied, and so there's not a ton more I would do. I might affect some of the colors. If you guys have never worked with the colors down here, I highly recommend it. It's really fun. If you have a lot of orange in the skin, this is a really good way to correct that. Or if you have color cast, this is a really good way to control it. Or if you want to bring the sky back in, lowering your blues and stuff like that would be really good. So, and it just helps you know kind of colors and skin tone, and overall it's a good tool to be familiar with. So I do love the yellows right now, so I might, let's see, bump them up just a tiny bit. I want it to be nice and golden. Hues, no, I'll keep them down here. And maybe greens, I tend to take out greens. I just usually don't, if you ever see those moodier images that have that kind of cool tones, a lot of them desaturate their greens. So just a quick tip for you. Yeah, she doesn't have a lot of purples or reds in here. And then blues, let's see. Just kind of because of the shadow kind of in her blouse there, her top. So I might just bring it up just so there's no weird colors there. But yeah, that's probably good enough for today. And again, we've already messed with the midtones and the color grading. So now down to our sharpening. I always sharpen my images. Even if I felt like I got the sharpening on point, that is just my style. And I like to just so this is taking out some of the noise. I like my images a little softer. I don't like them crunchy at all. So that's just any noise in the light and any noise in color. I just like to reduce it a little bit. I don't know if it'll pick up here on what it's actually doing, but it's just softening. There, you can kind of see it there. But anyway, so I don't go too much with these. And then the last thing I do usually is just put a slight vignette on my portraits. Unless that's a very sun-filled image, I usually just take it down a little bit, and that just gives it, something about the crop is bothering me. I think it's because of the background horizon line. There we go. That looks a little better. Okay. So there we go. So let me see a before and after of what we did in Lightroom. So then she's probably good to go. And next I'm going to show you how I retouch her skin in Photoshop. Find that interesting? So you just go back to your library module up here. And then we're going to export down in this lower left-hand corner. And then since I'm just doing a test today, I'm going to first tell it where I want to export. We're just going to do my desktop real fast. Choose. Okay, so I'm just naming the file. I'll just put test for today. And the main thing is your file settings. I always leave this blank. I don't check this resize to fit unless I'm doing like a social media image size. I like it to be as big as possible, and I like to keep my resolution at 300 so that when I'm printing it, it comes out high quality. I do them as JPEG. Some people do it as TIFFs, but for the amount of volume that I shoot, just to save some file size, I do tend to put them as JPEG, and then quality, of course, at 100, and then you'll just export. Any crazy hair, anything in the background I need to fix. This one isn't too bad. I'm going to zoom in here. It's not crazy, but I think I'm going to fix a little bit of this hair, so I always make a new layer to work on, which you'll find here. That way, if I make any mistakes, I never lose my original. So we're just going to go to clone, make sure it's at 100% capacity, or opacity, excuse me. And then I'll grab a sample, which is just alt-click. See there, and then we just go in. Oh, my computer's moving slow because I'm recording. There we go. And then I take several samples just to make it look as natural as possible. Go in here. And if I go too far here, I'll usually just take an eraser just to make sure it looks real and just erase back anything I went too crazy on. Yeah, it's pretty good. We're gonna clone it a little bit. That's pretty good. This stuff doesn't bother me too much. I might clean up a little bit here. And maybe this piece of hair here. Really want to make sure it looks natural, so I try to make sure I don't have anything looking exactly the same right next to each other, because that's the quickest way people can find out you've cloned something. So then I'm going to zoom out, make sure it looks good on the background. Maybe a little bit here is a little bit too much the same. Okay, so that's good. And then she's got a little thing on her hand. I'll just use my healing brush for that. And then take a sample, again, alt-click. And just make sure everything looks good. All right. Okay, next let's go to her face. So I did use a professional hair and makeup artist. I highly recommend that. If you don't use one, it helps a lot with skin retouching. But again, I'm just going to go and fix up some of these things. So little bumps that coming through. I'm a big stickler on not making skin look plastic though, so I try to be really careful with that. I'm using all the healing brush, taking lots of samples. I always take a sample before I click, so I don't want to be going like here with this color down here and then trying to fix it down there. It's just not going to work. So again, going through, and then my kind of rule of thumb for what I take away, like if it's a mole or something, anything that's permanent, I don't touch. So if they have beauty marks or moles or something, unless they specifically request it, everything else like acne or blemishes type thing, I will, get rid of because that's not permanently there. And then she's got a little crease here from the makeup. Again, just taking my healing brush. You can also do patch. Maybe I'll show that real quick, even though I just fixed it. So patch tool is really cool too. If you have just a little section, all you do is circle around it and then drag it to an area you want to fix and deselect it, and there you go. But usually I like the cloning brush and the healing brush tool are the biggest tools that I use for skin retouching. Everything there is pretty good, maybe a little bit on the chin. This makeup's breaking up a little bit. I mean, this doesn't bother me too bad, but just for the sake of this video, I'll probably go in and fix that little hair there and maybe the one on her brow. Whoops, you gotta be careful with that healing brush. I might even just use the clone if it wants to grab other parts of the hair on her eyebrow. Maybe here. And then maybe here. Okay, so that's looking pretty good skin-wise. Next, I'll go in with my cloning tool, and then I reduce the opacity to 50% on both sides, on the flow and the opacity, about 50. And this is where I remove under eye circles. I don't want to eliminate all the lines, and that's where I think some photographers go too far because then it just looks fake. I just want to reduce the lines so they're not so prevalent. So I pick a spot in the skin where it's a brighter color, and then I just sweep over there. I'll do that a couple times, and it just makes it look softer. So let me go back to where it was, and then what we just did. So I'm not getting rid of everything, I'm just making it softer, and I'll do the same thing on this side, grabbing a lighter spot to clone. And then I just kind of take my cloning brush at 50% and kind of fix any skin variation that I don't love. Usually forehead. Sometimes if the makeup starts breaking up later in the session, the contour starts looking a little crazy, I just smooth it out. I don't, again, not too much. Yeah, there we go. And then maybe a little bit on the chin. I don't use any blurring effect or anything like that. Sometimes if their lips are really chapped too, I'll also use this method. Hers look fine to me. And she also has really white teeth, but what I would also do is I would use my lasso tool, circle the teeth, go over here to my layers and pick hue and saturation layer. And let me move this so you can see. And then I pick yellows, and then I'll desaturate it. So I don't know if you'll even be able to see. She's got such white teeth, but that's also a good way to do that. And then I'll show you manually what I'm doing, but I have an action here for Iris Sparkle, which it sharpens it and brightens it, makes it more clear. So let me make sure I'm on the right layer. So I'm gonna play it just so you can see what I'm doing. It just makes the eyes stand out, but you can even, oops, sorry, hold on, hold the phone. Way too much. Make sure you are down in your opacities. And that's all I'm gonna do. And I'll show you before and after. And even that's too much. So if that's too much, I'll probably reduce it on the layer. Get it to the point where I like it, but I'm basically, the action is just sharpening that little area and then kind of brightening it. So that's probably what I would do there, or I'm not trash, blah, blah, can't talk, trash it. So I'll just do, oh, I'm sorry, I'm going too fast. So another thing I love to use is the history tool. And then I go up here to mode and screen. And then this, make sure you're on the right layer to do that. Zoom in, and what this is it's a more natural light effect versus dodging and so basically dodging and burning. But this is a little bit more believable because it uses the information it has underneath it, if that makes sense. So I always like to whiten the catch lights and then the opposite of the catch lights. And then again here, I don't usually saturate too much of the eyes. Again, I don't want them to look crunchy. So before and after on the skin and there. Perfect. Okay, so she's overall looking good. The last finishing touch I like to do is reduce reds. That's kind of my secret sauce to my images, getting them to look the way that they do. Again, I create an action for workflow, but I'm going to manually show you what I do, just so you know exactly how to do it. And that's all actions are, guys. They're not magic tools. They're just faster ways of doing your editing workflow to make your life easier, because when you're doing this for hundreds of images, you got to find ways to make it faster. Okay, so we're on our layer. So this, again, if you're not familiar with layers in Photoshop, I can make other tutorials about that, but I'm on my copy image. I haven't messed with my original image, so I'm on my layer 1. Then I'm going to go to hue and saturation again down here. I'm going to go to my reds, and then I mess with the hue and the saturation. So depending on if I'm in full sun and there's lots of reds, then I'll need to do more, but I very subtly do this. So for my hue, I'm going to take my reds up. I usually go like +4. So I'm taking them more to the blue side, and I'm desaturating them by like 4. I don't go more than that. Now I'm going to look at the image and see what I did just there. So before, after. I don't know if you can see that on the screen. I hope it shows up, but it's just a little bit of a change that just gives it a very polished look. I'm going to zoom in so you can see her skin again. So before, after. You don't even realize how red skin tones can get until you are working with them like this. And there we go. The last thing I would do is just flatten the image and sharpen it maybe a little bit if I felt like anything was fuzzy, and that is a deliverable image for me. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you want to see other retouching images, maybe when I'm dealing with you know, things in the background or more sun flare images, stuff like that, comment below. Again, don't forget to grab your 3 desktop Lightroom presets with the description box, with the link in the description box below. If you guys love this tutorial, please give me a like. It really supports me in this channel, lets me know this is what you like to see. And until the next one, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.